Salutations everyone, this is Razor giving you guys a rundown of the 1.1.5 patch for Super Smash Bros. 4. Doing what most patches do, in that they nerf things that don't need to be nerfed, and they buff things that don't need to be buffed, and they hurt the good characters, and they don't help the bad characters. It's really weird. But with this patch, we saw a lot of changes. I think one of the most significant changes, if not the most significant patch in Smash 4's history, and nobody saw it coming. So here are the changes. We'll start with Bayonetta. So Bayonetta, as we know, one of the best characters in the game. There's a lot of shit you cannot DI out of this chick once the Bayonetta players figured things out. But she did get small nerfs. Doesn't really affect the character much at all. Dare duration was increased by 5 frames. The Witch Twist grounded version does a little less damage, doesn't change any knockback or combo potential. Witch time is 5 frames longer and will last a shorter amount of time. But doesn't have any discernible effect on how you use it or really how useful or really good it is. The penalty per use goes from 50 frames to 75 frames, and after 100 frames it recovers 6 frames of length. Heel Slide has a little bit more startup, 0.36 more frames of startup, and the second hit duration lasts an additional frame. Forward Smash, a little bit weaker in knockback and knockback growth, as well as the up smash, her best smash tech. So these small nerfs don't in particularly hurt that move or how she handles as a whole. This doesn't change anything that she does, doesn't change how she kills, doesn't change how she combos or anything. Just some things do a tiny bit less damage, and her best 2 smash attacks do a tiny bit less knockback. So still one of the best characters in the game, if not the best character in the game after what they did to the other great characters. Some small tiny changes to Bowser. His airspeed was increased by 0.02. His weight was increased by 2 units. That was a really weird change, increasing Bowser's weight. Okay. Charizard got more buffs, very, very noticeable ones. Airspeed is 0.05% increased, so he's a little bit faster in the air. His weight was increased by 1 unit as well, from 115 to 116. Nair landing lag was reduced by 2 frames, and even though it's 2 frames, it's very noticeable, and the knockback growth was decreased, making it a little bit easier to get follow-ups after the Nair, mostly a forward tilt, or you'd go for like a regrab or something like that. Fair landing lag was reduced by 9 frames. This is super noticeable as well and pretty significant. The damage was also increased by 1% as well. The bear landing lag, that was reduced by 9 frames, also very noticeable. Usually some of these things aren't quite noticeable, but for Charizard, all these changes to the landing lag are quite noticeable and increase the damage as well as the sweet spot size on that tail. That part isn't very noticeable. That 0.5 change to his sweet spot size of the bear doesn't seem to really affect him very much. Up air landing lag also reduced by 2 frames, as well as dare landing lag by 2 frames. Flare Blitz explosion got a knockback growth of 6, so it does a little bit more knockback. I don't think that move really needed that, but it's whatever. And a new second hitbox was added, extending the move's reach to the base of his tail. So now I don't know why that really is going to affect him, since you're going to be hitting with the head because that's what charges forward. Either way, Cloud got a ton of nerfs. His up air early and late damage were both decreased by 1%. His forward smash third hit, the one that does the killing, that was nerfed, so his forward smash doesn't kill as early. Now the down smash it was also nerfed on the second hit, the one that does all the knockback. That was decreased by 2 as well. And the limit version of Cross Slash was nerfed, so that won't kill as early, probably by like anywhere between 4 and 6%. And the finishing touch, the down B limit, was insanely nerfed, incredibly nerfed. It went from 417 on the normal hit to a 359. So that is a huge nerf. Normally, with Rage, you can start killing with Limit in the mid to high 30s. Now they need to be in like the high 60s to kill with Limit's finishing touch. So that is pretty significant. all of it, the normal hit, the late hit, and the win box, all got humongous nerfs. And the limit charge time was also increased from 362 frames to 404 frames. So that's about 0.68 or 0.64 more seconds to the limit. So he's going to have to camp a little bit more. He's not going to be as safe, not going to get that limit as fast. And the front and back roll intangibility was decreased by 2 frames. Corrin also hit with a ton of nerfs. Out of the 3 newest characters, Corrin, Cloud, and Bayonetta, Bayonetta was one that basically went through unscathed, and Cloud and Corrin got huge nerfs. Corrin got a big nerf to the up air. The damage, it does less damage and does less knockback. Nair, early and late damage were also both nerfed. This sometimes helps you with comboing, but mostly it's just going to do less damage. It doesn't really affect the move all that much. Fair was also nerfed in damage by 1%. Fang Shot was nerfed in the fully charged, uncharged, and non-fully charged in the damage area, so it doesn't affect the hit stun or anything like that, but it's not going to do as much damage. Counter got a big nerf. We all knew that Corrin had the best counter in the game by a lot. I still think she does, but the damage multiplier was decreased from 1.3 to 1.2 and has 5 fewer active frames. So it's probably still the best counter in the game, but won't kill as early. Beforehand, you could kill a Little Mac at 0% on his forward smash with a counter. Now, not so much. You're going to have to get significantly more damage, but I think still the best counter in the game. A good change, I believe, because that counter was pretty ridiculous. Also, her walk, run, and airspeed were all nerfed, so she is slower across the board and has more total frames in the roll, so that's more punishable. Duck Hunt got buffs to all of his smash attacks knockback. Only 2% across the board. I definitely agree with the buff to the up smash, because that definitely was lacking in the knockback department, but I don't really feel like down or forward smash needed that buff. But hey, it's a really weird change, but hey, a small improvement to Duck Hunt when he wants to kill. Ganondorf got a ton of buffs. His jab was buffed across the board in startup, sweet spot, and sour spot frame data. It's also much more powerful in damage, and the hitbox position was changed a little bit, and it's 6 frames shorter, so less punishable on a whiff. Dash attack got a buff, taking 4 frames off of the total time of that move. Wizard Foot got a buff, a really weird, already a super strong attack that you see a lot of Ganondorf use online, so that got a big buff to damage as well as hitbox position. Don't really understand that. Flame Choke also got a buff, so it makes it a little easier to grab people with, which didn't think was necessary. I didn't see, that being a big deal in Ganondorf, so doesn't really change the character, but he did give some buffs. Greninja got some changes as well. A few changes to his dash attack. It's 2 frames shorter and acts 2 frames sooner, as well as ends 2 frames sooner in the active hitbox, which I think definitely helps the character. Dash attack, pretty important to some of his setups. Also, he got some standing grab startup frames knocked off, so now his normal standing grab a little bit faster. And they also shaved a few frames off of the landing lag on both his fair and his bear. Kirby got quite a few buffs to his smash attacks as well as his hammer flip. Down smash early hit knockback was increased by 1. Forward smash early and late hit knockback growth were increased by 2. Up smash was also buffed in the early, normal, and late hits in the knockback growth. And hammer flip was increased in the knockback growth by 2 in uncharged, fully charged, uncharged air, and fully charged air versions. Link got a couple of odd buffs to his down smash, his second hit knockback growth. That was increased by 6, and his dash attack knockback growth was increased by 7, which was interesting. And the angle was also a little bit changed. Meta Knight was one of the bigger victims of this patch. His up air damage was nerfed by 1%, and the angle was significantly changed along with the SDI multiplier. So that means the up air chains are gone. They're essentially out of his repertoire now. The one thing that made Meta Knight really good and a top tier character that netted him those early kills, you can't do anymore. So those up airs to the shuttle loop, no longer a thing. You might be able to get up to 3 up airs if you follow DI properly, if your opponent helps you out in that situation. So you're not going to be able to get as much damage now with Meta Knife on those aerial attacks, and you aren't going to be able to get early kills with this dude via that combo. And his fair landing lag was reduced by 4 frames, which is actually kind of significant, so it makes it a little bit safer. Mewtwo got yet another buff. He got another buff to his weight by 2 units, so he's now 74. He's now significantly faster. His run speed is now a 2.05, so that makes him one of the faster characters in the game now. His up smash, that got shaved off 5 frames on the duration, so a little bit safer, a little bit less punishable. And the Nair multi-hit hitbox size was increased by 0.7 to make that Nair a little bit easier to hit, a little bit safer, and really more useful on the edge than it was before. Pac-Man got some buffs. His bear knockback growth was increased by 2. Doesn't affect him. Forward smash knockback growth on the first and second hit were both increased by 2. Same with the up smash and the down smash. So, same as Kirby, got small buffs and knockback growth to all of his smash attacks. Palutena got a buff to her Rapid Jab finisher by 0.5% damage, and the Nair multi-hit frame damage was increased by 0.2% and 1% on the final damage. And the fair was increased by 1, the knockback growth was decreased, and the base knockback was increased by 1. Doesn't change Palutena at all. Really weird changes. Just one of the many. Peach got a small nerf to specifically her up air's first hit, so now you can't infinite combo. You basically can't hit grounded opponents with the up air anymore, so that's no longer a thing you can do. Doesn't really matter with Peach. Doesn't change the character at all. It's just this small unintended thing that they got rid of. Robin got some buffs to his jab, a little bit more knockback growth, significant to maybe getting some of those early kills off of jab, specifically with the fire version, because that one does the better knockback. Nosferatu got a change as well. The startup was decreased by 1 frame. Doesn't affect it. One of the worst moves in the game, and they made it like a 1,000% better. Odd change, but there you have it. Samus was the biggest benefactor of the patch with the most amount of buffs. Not anything really significant that'll move her up the tier list, but homing missile startup got knocked off a couple of frames. Same with the super missile, but that doesn't really change the frames of that attack. Charge shot starts a frame sooner. Forward tilt angles were changed a little bit, got a little bit more damage. Nair got some more damage across the board, good change. Fair moved a little bit of the hitbox and changed some of the knockback growth. Doesn't seem super discernible or have any big changes to how the character plays either with that attack or as a whole. Bomb IASA crouch cancel frame was increased by 2 frames. That was a weird specific change that doesn't matter. Dash attack finally has an earlier hitbox, so now it's an actual dash attack, folks. Samus now has a dash attack, so that is very nice. And her jab was also buffed, so sometimes her jab will actually combo into itself on the second hit from low to mid percent. So she almost has a jab now. Down smash total frames was decreased by 7 frames, and all of her grabs got a few frames chopped off of that, so a little less punishable on a missed grab, and the airspeed and gravity and fall speed and fast fall speed were all increased for Samus. Now to Sheik. As we know, the most nerfed character in Smash Bros. History has been nerfed in, I think, every single patch, and has received the most amount of nerfs by number than any other character, and this one was the biggest. I think this is the biggest nerf in the game's history, and very, very significant. Her fair defensive hitbox Z position was moved, which means defensive fairs are not going to have as good of a priority. You're not going to trade as much. It's not very safe anymore on those defensive fairs. The forward throw angle was changed, as well as a knockback growth, so you're not going to be able to get those down forward throw to bouncing fishes as much, especially with Rage, and you aren't going to be able to combo into your fair strings as much because of the forward throw and fair changes. Not that it's impossible, you definitely can still get combos, but the combos are going to get harder and much, much less frequent. Down throw, a humongous nerf. Not a nerf, this was a neuter. They changed the down throw knockback angle and knockback growth, so her down throw is no longer 50-50. They changed the one thing that Sheik had a safe way of killing with, and they took it away from her. So now you had a character that already had a hard time killing, and you took away its main way of killing. It's no longer 50-50. You can jump out of it. It doesn't, if your opponent spot dodges for you to get the vanish kill, they don't know that this totally got nerfed. They don't need to spot dodge. All they have to do is DI up and away or jump, and they're completely safe. You can still net some kills because of the angle. You're gonna have to follow your opponent's DI and hit with the up air, but with Rage, you're not going to be able to get the down throw up air anymore. It's not going to happen. That's when Sheik really needs the kills the most and where she most suffered, especially after the nerfs to both her bear and her fair in previous patches. So now she basically has 0 safe ways at killing, especially at high percents where she struggles the most. They also nerfed her needle range by 1/6. And made her even lighter by 3 additional units. She now weighs 81. So very, very odd changes to Sheik here. You already have a character that has a hard time killing. Now she has 0 safe ways of killing after only being able to kill with a sweet spotted up smash, only killing with a forward smash off of a read or a hard punish. And they increased the down smash knockback growth by 5 or by 10, but down smash is already a useless move for Sheik. Nobody uses it. It's still not great. Sure, you can kill with it, but only when your opponent's at super high percents. There's no setups into it, so basically Sheik has no way of getting kills safely now that you can't do your forward throw into bouncing fish at high percent with Rage, or your down throw in the vast, vast majority of cases. So this definitely drops Sheik significantly on the tier list. Significantly. No longer the best player, not the best character in the game on, I think, anybody's list. Bayonetta probably has that spot on lockdown now, especially since Zero Suit got some changes as well. But before we get into that, this is a very polarizing subject, this Sheik nerf, because a lot of people are sick of Sheik because how many people are really good at Sheik. But here's the facts. Exactly one Sheik has won at Nationals. One Sheik. Only one Sheik has won a national tournament, and that was Zero Sheik. That's the only time it's happened in history. In Genesis 3, the most stacked Smash tournament of all time, how many Sheiks were in top 8? 2. And has Zero ever lost against Sheik with Diddy Kong? A character that has a bad matchup against Sheik and has been significantly nerfed since it came out. No, the best player in the world has never lost against a Sheik with Diddy Kong, who has a bad matchup against Sheik. So those are 3 things to consider in case you're super duper happy with this nerf. You may be kind of sick of seeing as many Sheiks. The most that I've seen in a top 16 is 5, but that's only if you count secondaries into account. So yeah, there may not even be any Sheiks finishing in top 8s nowadays because she has no safe way of killing anymore. So a lot of people are going to be rejoicing, but damn, was this the biggest nerf of all time in Smash Bros. Zelda got some buffs to her forward tilt, jab, down smash, nair, up air, and her grab range, as well as Nairu's love and tangibility was increased by 3 frames. Doesn't change Zelda, still bottom of the bottom tiers. Odd changes, buffing Zelda's jab. I mean, you might as well nerf Dr. Mario's recovery. That's how weird some of these changes are. Changing nair doesn't affect her. Changing up air, increasing the damage and knockback growth isn't going to change anything because her up air is insanely difficult to land in the first place. So increasing the reward does not help for any Zelda players or the hitbox startup on her forward tilt. She still doesn't have range. She still doesn't have great edge guarding tools. Din's Fire still isn't useful basically at all. And her only, good way of killing is the elevator move. So odd. And finally, we have Zero Suit Samus with a ton of nerfs as well, much like Meta Knight and Sheik, because the most recent Japanese tournament had your boy Nairo, and he was in grand finals against a Meta Knight, so those are the two ones that got nerfed super significantly. Up air, Nair were super nerfed, so now you have a lot more knockback growth on the up air, but a lot less damage, so you're not going to be able to combo and get your up air kills, or combo and get those booster kick kills as much. I'm not a big Zero Suit player. I'm probably the worst Zero Suit player in the universe, but definitely significant changes to Nair. The damage was decreased, but sometimes you can get more aerial combos off of Nair, but it might not be as safe on the ground because of the lighter knockback growth. Might not be able to get as many grabs off of Nair's. Back throw got a buff, which is weird because you never use Zero Suit's back throw, so it changes its damage by 2% and knockback growth by 20. Doesn't do anything. Down throw got a significant change. Knockback growth went from 25 to 60, so now you're not going to get nearly as many combos off of down throw, which was her main move. You paralyze her, or you nair, or you zair into a grab, you down throw into up air. Well, now down throw isn't nearly as good, and neither is up air. A weird change, Plasma Whip got a buff. Knockback growth on the first hit was increased by 20, and the duration was knocked off of 3. And a little bit more damage on each of them. Doesn't affect the character as much as Meta Knight or Sheik. Still a really good character. You're just gonna, as well as Meta Knight and Sheik, you're not gonna get as many kills or as many safe opportunities to kill with this update. So that's it for the 1.1.5. Sorry it went long, but this was a very, very significant patch. It's gonna have a huge impact in the metagame. So you're not going to see as many Sheiks. Some people might be dropping Sheik altogether. I would not be surprised whatsoever. And a ton of more people are going to pick up Bayonetta. So I hope you enjoy your top 8 being 8 Bayonettas, because that might be happening. It really might be the way that it's going. We don't know if there are going to be any patches after this. I thought we could expect one patch after Bayonetta dropped in this game, just to change anything that they didn't foresee with that update. And this might be it. This might be the last update, or there could be one down the road. But nonetheless, I think we can assume that the game is almost finished and it will no longer be supported. But we're going to have to wait for Nintendo to tell us anything about that.